now, so let me know if you can't hear me or wave at me or something if something happens.
Okay.
But what Tim and Mark just talked about was pretty choppy, but now I think I can see everybody. Okay, we're on. Chief, we're ready to go?
Yep, we're ready to go.
Excellent. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the October 13th, 2025 meeting of the Commissioners of Fire Protection District number 4. I'll call the meeting to order and we'll start with roll call. My name is Steve Cooley. I'm a commissioner.
Tim Johnson, Commissioner.
Mark Land, Commissioner.
Jason Vanderveen, Fire Chief.
Excellent. All right. Chief, we have anybody waiting for public comment?
No, sir.
Not okay. So I will open and close the public comment period, and then we will move into the consent agenda. All matters within the consent agenda have been distributed to each member of the Board of Commissioners for review, are considered routine, and will be enacted by one motion of the board with no separate discussion. If a separate discussion is desired, that item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda by request. Am I coming through okay?
Yeah, very good.
Great. Okay, and the consent agenda this week includes meeting minutes from our September 15th meeting, staff reports, and anyone who might be watching this recording later, I would call your attention to some good information in the chief's report. And let's see what else. So staff reports from the chief and his people, our financial reports, and voucher payroll and benefits. And this month it included a direct deposit payroll of $644, monthly expenditure voucher of $853,844.10. And I believe that was for our payment to North Whatcom for their good services. And a capital voucher for $70,113.93, which was our, I believe, probably one of our final payments to our contractor who did the station work. The work
Close. Yep.
Well, yeah, getting close. So, and we'll talk about that here in a moment. So for total expenditures for October, $924,602.03, and total revenues for September were $55,534.16. I will now entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
I'd move to approve the consent agenda.
We'll second that motion.
So Commissioner Land moves to approve and Commissioner Johnson seconds that motion. Any discussion desired on the consent agenda?
I would just mention that, as you alluded to, Commissioner Cooley, there was a lot of information in Chief's report for the month, and I think it would be good for us to discuss some of those items. I see a couple of them referenced on the correspondence section of our agenda. But I think we might also want to revisit the annexation issue. And I don't care where we put that in the agenda.
Yeah, I think on the minutes from last month, if I'm not mistaken, it was maybe tentatively suggested that be carried over. Although it had a 1997 date on it, I could be thinking about something else now that
It was the 97 agreement that we had talked about.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be this would be a fine time for me, with me to go over some of that since it's part of the consent agenda. Let's go. So Tim, is it all right if we just hop through his report there and talk about the various items that apply to us?
Sure.
You had in mind, or?
Yeah. Well, and like I say, I think a couple of them we're going to cover in the correspondence section. I'm thinking of the report from the county on assessed values and also the fire savings study that Chief references in his report. But yeah, I wasn't aware that the city council had gone back and revisited the annexation issue until I read it in Chief's report. And maybe we should just talk about that a minute, see if it makes any difference to us in terms of a plan forward.
Absolutely. Let's do that now because like you said, the other items are pretty much going to be covered in the correspondence. So yeah,
Yeah.
let's talk about the Northern Heights annexation. I'm with Tim. I didn't know about that until I read it. Chief, do you want to, is there any more information other than what you put in there? Anything
Yeah,
you'd like?
no, I got notice after this happened. It is part of their parliamentary rules that they can do this. My assumption is that there was some work going on by the group that wanted to complete the annexation with city councilors after it was denied. And
Yep.
yeah, they have the opportunity, they being the city council have the opportunity to do this with any resolution that they dismiss or, exclude from moving forward. They're able to bring it back up and give it a second reconsideration. So what they did, I don't understand exactly how it works, but they basically placed this annexation into what's been described as a holding pattern. So it's sitting like they could or they could not act on this based on some reports and also based on getting the county to do some of these bigger upgrades. I probably wouldn't bet my lunch money on those projects happening anytime soon, but I suppose that's what they wanted to do. And just at the best example, there's actually one of these holding category annexations sitting in District 4 that's been there longer than about twice as long as I've been the chief. It's been there about a decade. And it's up north on the Guide Meridian, east of the Guide near Kelly Road. And it's waiting and waiting and waiting. And there's little, most people don't think it's ever going to happen. And I would probably put this one in a pretty similar category, but yeah, the group that was pro annexation, like I said, did some politicking and got it placed from a no to a maybe. So it doesn't, as far as I know, and with what I've talked with Chief Hewitt and some people at the city, there's no change in what we need to do. There's no change in planning. We move forward like we have. This means essentially nothing to us, other than it could happen at some point down the road.
Great. Thank you very much. That's a good summary. That's exactly what I read into it. So Tim, was there, I'm sorry.
No, I was just wondering if this made it any easier for this to get back on the table in front of the council, and do we need to make sure we're continuing to push for that 1997 agreement rewrite? I know people wanted to wait after the budget season, which makes perfect sense, but just kind of makes me feel like it's something we still need to push for. And I kind of feel like this annexation's not going to go away. So
Yeah.
Completely understandable. And yes, I agree, Commissioner Johnson, that probably this needs to bring that 97 the negotiation back up to a little higher priority. And yeah, I suppose this annexation could be a little more lucrative to the developers, and so they might push a little harder. But I do think there's a pretty big lift on those projects that need to get done, what they placed in front of it. I'll try to get a more governmental synopsis of what those requirements are and include it to you in the next board packet so you can see what those projects that they want to see completed are.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Tim. That's a really good point about let's keep pushing on the rewrite of the 1997 agreement. So, yep, let's make sure we do that. Anything else? Let's see. I think I was going through the chief's notes. I think everything else of substance we're going to cover in the correspondence section, like Tim said. So we'll defer to there. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, then I'll ask for a vote on approving the consent agenda. All those in favor of approving it, please say aye.
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 Motion carries 3-0. The consent agenda is approved. Okay, and that brings us to unfinished business. So first up is the Station 12 exterior project. And Chief, do you have a picture? I'd like him to share a photo for anyone that might be watching this later who hasn't seen the results of the first part of the results of that project. So let's see, last Thursday on October 9th, there it is. On Thursday, October 9th, I had the privilege of getting a tour of the facility, and we'll talk about some of the other things that we discussed as well. But by the chief and by Deputy Chief Tony Malilo, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Anyway, I think it looks great. I think it was money very well spent. The station, it's going to preserve that station for quite a long time. A couple of punch list items that they haven't finished, like gutters and some seals around those big doors. But overall, I thought it looked great, and I believe that the chief and his staff are pretty happy with how the process has gone. Is that correct, Chief?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, good. So
Great work.
yeah, it looks really good, and it's really in stark contrast for anyone who hasn't seen it to look at the new station building on the one side and the admin building on the other. It really gives us a sense that we really did something that needed to be done. So anyway,
You'll definitely notice it when you go in to sign.
What's that?
You'll definitely notice the difference when you go in to do signatures.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Okay, well, with that said, during that tour, the chief and deputy chief walked me around, and to make a long story short, there are some projects that are smaller in scope that we may need to address before we finish the other building. And with that, I'm just going to let the chief describe what those things are. They showed me these things as kind of an introductory, hey, these might be more urgent than re-siding that building, and we might want to consider pushing the re-siding of the admin building 1 year forward. But so I wanted to open that for discussion and let the chief kind of give you a quick briefing on what Deputy Chief Tony has found in his rounds, and it's been great having that extra body and Tony's been doing a great job of inspecting our facilities and seeing what we need. So I'm going to stop talking and let the chief talk.
Yeah, so just really quickly, what we did was we met Commissioner Cooley down there at Station 12 and just walked the whole campus kind of and showed him some things that have been identified to us. Obviously, the siding on the station was a huge project. That's kind of got us to take a deeper look at some other things. Namely, the biggest thing is, or one of the biggest things is when there's a lot of not concrete, but asphalt down there that needs to be taken care of and upgraded in some cases. Parking lot stripes need to be repainted. Some of those things are things we can do in phases. But one big piece is on the drill grounds, and I'm happy to meet either Commissioner Johnson or Commissioner Land and show you what we're talking about here. There's a series of drainage grates that are set in concrete, and it's been 25 years, and some of those grates are starting to break down. The drainage, not just the grates, but the actual drains themselves are starting to break down from just the constant use and heavy rigs, creating a trip hazard, and those need to be replaced. We went and we got 3 bids, and they vary anywhere from mid 20s to over $100,000. There is a huge variance in the way those bids were done, and 2 of the 3 bids are up near the $100,000 range. And what it is that when they were initially poured, those concrete channels are too narrow. So when fire engines or ladder trucks or tenders, when they cross these these drains, there's too much force being put in a small area. The concrete really needs to be, the drain needs to be widened out so that the load is spread over a wider area. And they've lasted really well for 25 years, but there's better product, better material, better ways to do things now. And that's a project that's going to need to get done. I don't have an exact price for you. This will all be included next month when we go to talk about the budget and capital projects and some of these other things. There's a lot of cracks in the asphalt just from the freeze thaw and just the amount of water that gets used on that drill ground. That's maintenance that's going to need to get done. There are more trees that are close to the stations. One of the things we did when Station 12 got recited was we basically told the contractor, no, we don't want any bushes touching the building. And then when the painters came through, we said, if it's painful for the painters, remove the trees. Like let's get this stuff out and away from the building so that we don't have stuff rubbing up against the building, or there's not ants and bugs and stuff crawling in and out. We need to apply the same process to the admin building as well. There are some trees that are kind of have overgrown and need to come out. Additionally, inside the station, one of the things that needs to happen is there's currently have a commercial washer at that station, and it's used for washing bunker gear. That's not the gold standard. What is really the machine that can extract the products of combustion from bunker gear is actually called an extractor, and we need to put one into that station. It's never had one. It's always had just a kind of an industrial commercial washer, which does a good job, but it doesn't do the best job possible. District 21 has extractors in all its stations, and I'm going to recommend that we go ahead and put one in. I'm sure you're wondering why am I bringing you this laundry list of things now? And basically it's that because the Station 12 campus is getting rented out by the city of Bellingham, the district's netting about $160,000 in rental fees from the city. And Tony, Chief Malilo, has kind of brought some of these things to my attention, and we did a walk. We took Commissioner Cooley through there, and it kind of made us realize that we're property owners, we're landlords, and the station is paid off. We've got a levy that's passed. District 4 is sustainable based on its levy rate. But as property owners, or as landlords, I guess, we need to put some money back into the property that we own. And I think that, or I would recommend that we look at that Bellingham rental payment as a good way to improve our facilities and make some of these maintenance upgrades that we need to do. I know funding is always a concern, and we had our levy plan, but I just would ask that you humbly that you consider that rental cost as seed money for some of these bigger and I would say District 4 centric projects. These projects will go to benefit solely the grounds at Station 12, District 4. So, Commissioner Cooley, was there anything else that I missed in that?
Do you have some photos, Chief, of those projects or those problems that we're talking about?
I don't,
you're able to show,
unfortunately.
like the concrete drains and the poor condition of the asphalt that's going to get worse over time.
Unfortunately, I didn't think to take any. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you had some. No worries. Yeah. So no, that was great, Chief. I appreciate that. And as you said, there'll be a much more robust discussion. This is just the preliminaries once we see the numbers and talk about the budget for next year. But for what it's worth, from my walk around and from the tour that the chief and deputy chief gave me, the drain issue is one I think we're going to have to address sooner rather than later, and the cracks, both the parking lot for the admin building, but more importantly, the training field has huge cracks in the asphalt that we really need to get fixed. The chief and I talked about anything from fixing the cracks as a temporary measure or repaving the lot, but we're just going to have to see what those quotes.
And just to let you know that that Chief Melillo is he's working with the training officers in the past. Well, our two retired deputies will recognize this word, but basically we have a program called EVIP, which is similar to the law enforcement's EVOC program, although it moves a lot slower, obviously. But it's our driver training program, and looking at the wear and tear on that property, we're asking and then moving to demanding that none of that training take place on that asphalt anymore. The training officers are going to have to find a different spot, a paved spot with actual concrete, not asphalt. The slow moving and turning of all those rigs is going to increase damage. So know that we're making, I guess you could call them policy changes, so that we can lengthen out the time that these things are good. Hopefully require less maintenance in the long run. But yeah, it still needs to get done. So
Sounds good. Thank you again, Chief. Yeah, then any other discussion about that item or questions from anybody? Yes, go ahead, Tim.
Maybe this is something I should know, but I can't remember if I did know it. So we've got the rental revenue from the city. That's for the admin building, right?
and the drill grounds.
Is there also a rental revenue for the training grounds for the folks that use our training grounds?
Yes, that 160 combined, that number is for the drill grounds, for building D, and for the admin building.
Okay. Yeah. And others besides Bellingham Fire Department use the training grounds, don't they?
Yes.
And I'm just
So
wondering.
I just used Bellingham's payment as an example. We could go through the deposits, and there's the Whatcom County Recruit Academy, there's the East County Recruit Academy, there's South Whatcom. There are other streams of revenue coming in that we could apply to that number.
Okay, that answers where I was going with that. So there are streams of revenue that we potentially could use to upgrade and repair the grounds as needed.
Correct.
So I guess I'm wondering if some of these things would be capital or they'd be expense. It sounds almost like maintenance to me.
Some of them, I think, in Chief Melillo and I talking, some of them will be capital to begin with, and then we'll build in a maintenance budget for them. That's one of the things that I think you heard it at the District 21 budget study session, that we've not been good about, and I'm to blame as much as any previous chief at this point. But just the preventative maintenance, it's hard to fund. Now, District 4 passed its levy, which gives us the relief in being able to use the funds from the rental of the grounds. Now we can use it for maintenance, so we can actually build that program. District 21 is a different animal. That's a little harder, but for District 4, yeah, you guys are in a much better spot.
Is next month's meeting our budget meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Did anyone hear me?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Oh, okay. So then the timeline, I guess, next month when we are looking at our budget, were you thinking about suggesting some, like you were going to anticipate essentially tacit approval and then kind of that timeline for some of
Correct.
these things you're telling us about.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll have numbers so we can pick and choose, 2026, or we're going to put this off.
Okay. I mean, I used to be, it seems like, in and out of that, at least admin building almost every day, but that was a while ago. I haven't really walked around and with a critical eye of just the facilities in a really, really long time. I think if you have time between now and the next few weeks, or your
Yeah.
designee, to maybe help me walk around and point some of these things out, like you did
Absolutely.
with Steve,
Yep.
might find that helpful.
Absolutely.
But of
And
course,
same,
me and
Commissioner
Tim would
Johnson as
probably need
well.
to do that separately, or it would be considered a meeting. So
Yeah.
Tim might need a separate hand-holding session.
Yep. Nope. We can absolutely do that. Yeah. We could be happy to meet you guys there individually and do a walk around.
I mean, sorry, Tim, I wasn't volunteering you to do that. I was just throwing that out there.
It's a good idea, Mark. Kind of get some eyes on what these issues are.
Yeah, I'd highly recommend it. My internet connection's been kind of choppy, but I got most of that. And yeah, I'd highly recommend it. It was, yeah, looking at it, as you said, Mark, with a critical eye is really kind of an eye opener. So yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. I mean, in general, something like this, I mean, it's a huge capital investment for us, but it's also a huge asset. We should work to preserve it, improve it, maintain it, and it's a place that provides a lot of training. And
Mhm.
the fact that I heard Chief talk about cracks that are tripping hazards. I mean, those then lead to injuries, which lead to all sorts of other problems that kind of snowball. We owe it to the men and women that work for the fire district to provide a safe, up to date, modern place to work and train. So, but nevertheless, numbers matter, and for me anyway, I want to kind of see what that all is going to cost. But that's kind of my approach to it.
Well, and thankfully, because of the rental income, we don't have to. We shouldn't have to impact the budget of the Fire District 4 voter, right? Fire District 4 voter paid for fire and EMS response and maintenance of those fire and EMS buildings. But with the rental income, we can use some of that to pay for the upgrades to the training center, which multiple agencies are using. So it's spread out a little more equitably.
So while we're on that topic, how about the East Smith Road building that DNR is in? I mean, does that pay for itself? Does that need any work too?
It doesn't. Well, everything. It's been. We've had a better maintenance record with that. The DNR is a great occupant of the building, and they do quarterly safety inspections, and they send us anything that is an issue. They send it to us right away, so things don't have time to grow, or get out of hand. We've had a couple. You might recall a water leak that we had recently. A couple little things, but no, I would say, without knowing the exact numbers, I would say that rental pays for itself.
Okay, so that one's kind of on autopilot, more or less.
It's a low impact to anything.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Mark. I would echo everything that you said there. So yeah, well put on all of that. Anything else that we want to talk about as far as the Station 12 project? So lots more to come on that. And yeah, sounds good. Okay, well, let's move into, and this is sort of related, but sort of not. Chief, do you want to give a quick summary of the alarm panel issue, where we're at with that?
So this kind of goes along with the maintenance piece, but we've had a sensor on. We've had an electricity input sensor wired into where power comes into station 12, monitoring any. I talked previously about the alarm panel, and it's been alarming at weird times and doesn't make any sense. So the thought is that maybe there's dirty power coming into station 12. We've had that sensor on there for about two and a half, 3 weeks. They'd like to give it a month so they can track better if there's any fluctuations in power coming in. So I don't have a report on that yet. Just want you to know that that's in progress. That sensor does not come from PSE. It comes from a different company. So I would call it a clean audit. It's not a self audit. How's that?
Okay, great. Any further discussion about that item or questions? Okay, so moving in, we don't have any new business listed, so let's go through the correspondence. Quite a few things in there this time around. Remind us, Chief, what Systems Design does for us as far as the BLS price.
They're the people that process our BLS transport billing. So when a customer is transported, they're the ones that handle the billing. So they notified us that their cost of doing business is going up, and that'll be reflected in our budget that you'll see.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wasn't sure what the company did.
Any idea? Sorry, Steve,
Nope,
question
ahead,
on
Mark.
that line. It might be pennies, but I was curious, do you happen to know what percent increase that represents?
It's 75 cents per transport. It's less than 3% of the overall cost.
Okay. And do you know when the last time they increased their rates was?
2 years ago.
Okay, less than 3% over 2 years. Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Great. It's my internet connection again from Comcast is really unstable right now. So raise your hand if something's going on and you can't hear me. We also got a notice of a rate increase from the state auditor. Fairly routine process, it looked like, from reading their letter. Any questions or comments on that? Okay. And then a couple other things. The first one doesn't apply to our district, thankfully. Instructions for submitting a 2006 ballot measure, and then the assessor's report as well. Any questions or comments on those that we need to talk about? Okay, and then the Cascadia article, thank you for putting that in the packet, Chief, on the results of the fire savings proposal that the county council sponsored here recently. I thought it was a well-written article from my point of view. If you were quoted correctly, Chief, I think you said some important things. Go ahead. You were going to comment on that.
Yeah, and it's now, the ball's now in county council's hands. They've accepted the report. They came up with a preliminary, basically, group that's gonna look at the recommendations in there, and then really the most important thing I think they could do is improve communications with the fire service in general, commissioners and fire chiefs, and we'll see if they do that.
Yep. Great. Any other questions or comments about that issue?
So it's unlikely that there's they'll I guess revise the report in any way. So you noted that there were a number of inaccurate facts, comments in the report, and I totally agree with you about their comments about transparency. That's pretty disappointing to see that in the report. But I assume at this point the report's what it is, and it's probably not going to get revised.
No, they sent all the chiefs a draft, and like I said, we correlated our corrections, and that was like 250 plus, and they were pretty upset by that. And then we got nothing until we didn't see it again until we saw the final. And yeah, kind of frustrating to see some of a lot of the same errors in there. But hopefully, that's where good communication with county council, individuals from county council, whether it's, Councilperson Stremler or whoever, we just need to make sure that we have a face-to-face and getting their questions answered by subject matter experts, whether that's commissioners or fire chiefs.
So there's no, so like, just to summarize where that issue is. So you said, and I'm sorry, because my internet kind of stopped briefly. You said the county council has formed a team to address those, or what?
They discussed putting together a subcommittee,
Okay.
but I haven't seen anything come out of it yet.
Okay, great. All right. Anything else on that topic? Okay, so we'll move to the last one, which is the assessor's office's preliminary numbers for our fire and EMS assessed values. Discussion on that item. Anything?
These are just the preliminary numbers that we use to start calculating.
Yeah.
We'll get our final numbers in November, and that's how we actually calculate the levy rate. So this was more of just hey, it's this time of year again. Like, I thought y'all might be interested in the last year. Your AV went down. The AV in District 4 went down. This year it went up a little bit.
Yeah, just a little. Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's just to remind you that it's that time.
Yep.
Excuse me.
Yeah, sorry. It highlighted for me, at least from my my assessment of the situation, that the taxpayers really have put us in a much better footing to address some of the challenges we were talking about earlier. Looking at the budget, we're fortunate that the taxpayers approved that levy lid lift, because it's now going to allow us to address all those problems without having to borrow money. So it's a good thing, as far as I could tell from my non-budget experts' point of view. All right. So anything else on any of that correspondence before we conclude here? Okay, great. So the next meeting is Thursday, not a Monday, 11 on the November 13th. And that's you put public hearing there, Chief. Is that because it's we have to refresh our memory on the process there that we're going to go through in November?
Yeah, got to give credit where credit's due. Jenny put public hearing.
Right. Right. Correct. Absolutely.
And yes, that will be the annual. It will be the public hearing for the basically levy certification. So where you will we'll have the public hearing, and then the Board of Commissioners will decide the levy rate. By statute, we're authorized to go 101% plus District 4 as the 4%. We'll call it adjustment factor that you can adjust it up to 4% annually. Last year, I'll remind you, we did 3% because that fell in line with inflation. So you'll need to do that for the fire levy, and then also the resolution authorizing the property tax for the EMS levy, which again, through statute, you can do 1%. Last year we did a 0%. We banked that capacity, and you'll need to do that again for EMS, the EMS levy.
Great, thank you. All right, so yeah, that'll happen at our next meeting, and the schedule looks good to me. I might be able to be there as far as I can tell. Any other issues with that date?
So November 13th, this meeting takes place, or we're also going to have the regular, this counts as the regular monthly meeting too?
Yep.
And then are we doing this one in person in the training room?
We should.
I mean, it seems like that's it couldn't have been, was it that long ago that we did a public hearing in the training room, I want to say?
Yeah,
Time.
Kind of seems like if it's a public hearing, I don't know, it just seems to make more sense for in case any of our customers, want to attend, or any of the fire service folks, or anyone for that matter, we should be making it easy and accessible, it seems, for something like this.
Yes, and actually, and I discussed during our tour of the facility, perhaps one in person.
yeah, we just to help Commissioner Cooley out there with
Station or
his
something like
internet
that
connection.
for some of the reasons you were.
We had talked.
Yeah, sorry.
I had talked with them about possibly looking at doing several meetings a year in person at Station 12, maybe even like one a quarter at Station 12. I know that we'd have to work around work schedules and vacation schedules, but it would be good for us to meet in person. At least, I think at least quarterly.
Well, yeah, maybe a
Yeah,
separate
thanks, Chief.
discussion on that, but on the November 13th one, is it at noon, like the normal time?
It is.
Okay, well, I don't know, for what it's worth, where I know we're not voting on it, but I'd be willing and happy to show up in person at the training room if that's what Steve decided.
I support that as well. I think
Yeah,
it'd be good to
absolutely.
do in-person
Okay.
meeting.
Great.
We
Well,
will
let's
do
just
that.
plan on that then, Chief. Okay,
Okay.
great.
So
Is
can
any-
I just ask a couple other or give a couple comments and a couple questions? I think at this special hearing or public hearing, that's typically where we vote on a resolution, as Chief was saying, about what the levy rate is for next year. So just in preparation of that, will we have an opportunity to see budgets and what we think our capital expenses will be for next year before we get to that meeting and have to make that decision?
Yes, I will make sure that you have a preliminary budget with preliminary capital outlay numbers prior to that meeting.
Okay, that would be really helpful in trying to figure out where we're going for next year. And Commissioner Land, you had asked about my attendance at the budget work session for District 21 that was held back on September, I think it was the 17th. And it was a very good work session. I would really appreciate the chance to be there on behalf of District 4. I mean, obviously the focus was on District 21's budget position, and they spent a lot of time going through the current budget. And Chief can correct me if I misstate anything here, but my takeaway was that both their expenses and their revenue are on track for this year in District 21 on the current budget. And then they spent a little time talking about the 2026 budget overview. And what I took away from that was they project that to be flat for next year as well, 2026. They spent some time comparing levy rates for different districts, kind of showed where District 21 fell in with the other districts in the area, and it was pretty glaring that District 21 is really needs some help with their levy rate. So we talked a little bit about how can District 4 help our partners going forward. And one thing I heard was that it would probably be helpful if we consider that purchasing that engine that we've talked about in the past. And I think it takes some of the pressure off equipment squeezes that we that we're experiencing. So that was the one item they kind of put out there, that a way we could consider helping them out is trying to move forward on that equipment purchase. So it's probably something we want to consider when we look at our budget and ahead of this next meeting.
Yeah, great. Thanks for sharing that, Tim. So that reminds me, you were talking about different levy rates at the previous public hearing. I think I also recall, Jason, you had some different options for us and what those penciled out to when we then ultimately decided on that 4%. I don't want to ask for, you to do unnecessary work, but if giving us some options, and what those impacts would be, I think would be helpful. So that we can, discuss that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yep, I can do that.
Great.
And I'll do not just comparison of revenue, but comparison of an impact to a taxpayer as well, so you can see what that looks like on their end.
That'd be great. Thanks. Yeah, I echo the other two in saying, yeah, the more information we're armed with before the meeting in November would the better. So we can go into the meeting being thoroughly familiar with what's happening and having had time to reflect on it. Okay, well, I'm assuming I'm coming through now because that was pretty choppy there for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Thank you for the summary of the meeting, Tim. And again, thank you for going on behalf of the District 4. Anything else with regards to that public hearing? Okay, great. So we're going to work on making it an in-person meeting, and we'll go from there. All right, any agenda items for the next meeting that we haven't talked about already? Okay, nothing seen. So everybody remember to go sign the documents and take a good look at the new station if you haven't seen it already. And with that, anything
And
else?
if you could please shoot me a text when docs are signed. The sooner the better, please.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Thanks, everybody. The meeting's adjourned. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.